All right, Rochelle, let's take a look at your paper. MLA format first. Just last name and page number. And this has to be Times New Roman, so fix that for me. 23 November 2016. No punctuation at all in that. I like your quote, okay, or your title, okay. Illness from within. I mean, you pretty much only have two options. You either have an illness from within or from without. So I guess it's a little, short-sighted. Anyway, it's fine. So, Rochelle, I was about ready, as I was reading your introduction, I was about ready to give you the award for the most complete introduction. And so I'm going to praise you a little bit, and then I'm going to point out a couple things. But for the most part, your introduction is really good. So use the quote, which is awesome. I would get rid of this end mark, right? Because you only need it right here, so you don't need that one there. I'm gonna totally take all the credit for this based on speech class, but you do a really good job of starting with this quote, kind of leading eventually into Macbeth. You have a really good word choice in here. I like the idea of tear someone apart from the inside out. Brought out by the hand of his steadfast wife, Lady Macbeth. I love that part. It's really good. Then you get into the leading these symptoms and how they influence his own defeat, which I'll tell you I want this end part to go in just a second. All right, and I love come off for twisted tongue. Anyways, really good job with word choice in here. In the play, the lead, Macbeth, so you need a comma here, can be seen as one with a mental illness, paranoia, schizophrenia. And even one, I don't like that phrase, seen as one. I think I'd rephrase that a little bit and maybe, work on that comma there. So there are three leading symptoms that brings him down. Now, the next sentence is all one sentence, and it's all of your preview and your thesis together. I would love for you to break that apart. I think it's going to work better for you to have your main points right in this sentence. The three leading symptoms that bring him down are this, and this. Okay? And then have a strong thesis statement, because right now, the flat emotional response, the paranoid thoughts about the loyalty of others, and the unusual perceptions. Here's where we get to your actual thesis. But what are you telling me in this thesis? What is the theme? All of them lead him to kill people, and anyone else would get in the way of him and his prophesied kingship. So it's more of a plot thing than a thematic thing, because I don't know what you're going to bring up in the body paragraphs as a way to talk about your thesis statement other than, oh, yeah, he killed people because they got in his way. So hopefully maybe you go into more depth there, but that was the one part that I didn't like about your introduction. But everything else, you have a really good beginning part here, Rochelle, so kudos. A lot of your classmates did not do as well with that. All right, so topic sentence weak. You can't just say, here's one symptom. What does it do to him? You have a bunch of stuff in here that is not your own information that you had to look up. I don't see any end text citation at all in this first paragraph except for the play. I know you had to look this information up. This is straight up plagiarism, Rochelle. After I praise you for your introduction, you go ahead and plagiarize. So this is straight up plagiarism that you need to fix. All expression is lost in the face. No care is shown for those around them, including the ones they love. So this is a run-on sentence. You got a lot of different things in there. All right, so he loses his normal emotions and situations as his power grows ever larger each day. Now, that's touching on more of a topic sentence there and maybe trying to get to what the bigger theme is, okay? Wins now. At the end of the play, I'm assuming, he tends to communicate his feelings through violence. Dark side is such a cliche. I'd be careful with that. So now the rest of it is just plot. When you have a long quote, you would move this back over because this is still this paragraph. He cares more about the land than he rules than his wife. This is also the wrong tone, that it's out of whack. Wrong tone here. So try to fix that. Now, it's funny that you bring up his wife before, like it's not chronological because killing Duncan came first. So how does that maybe play into it? Good transition statement here at the end, so that part is doing well. So again, you actually did fairly well for not having a strong thesis statement of trying to bring up the whole idea of, what's built up with his lack of emotion. But I still think you need some a little bit more guided response there based on a better thesis statement. All right, so your next is about trust. It's not a bad topic sentence, I guess. About having, you set up the concept well. Again, I need some outside sources in here. Like this would be clearly something you would cite. He is no stranger to treachery. Good word. Yet it is something he fears most. Like he fears treachery, or he fears strangers. I don't. Make sure you're clear on that. So when he kills Duncan, he has a fear of those around him. Now remember, your whole thing is about paranoid thoughts, and I would maybe touch on right after he kills Duncan how paranoid he was of everything, the noises that he made, who was in the chambers, the knock at the door. I think that would make a lot more sense. By the way, sorry, I forgot to mention this last page, Rachelle. Last name somehow disappeared from your citation, so last name, page number for all of that. Read this sentence. Then it would be just as easy to kill himself. I think what you meant to be, it would just as easy as for someone to kill him. It's not easy for Macbeth to commit suicide. That's kind of what you're saying in that sentence. Now, you and nearly everyone else in your class, we need to talk about this. He was not suspicious of Banquo. Banquo was suspicious of him. He just didn't like Banquo because of his prophecies that his kid would be king, and he didn't want that to happen. So that's why he killed him, not because he was suspicious of him. And all this quote is saying is his death would be perfect if you guys would do it because he threatens both of us, but for different reasons, okay? And I would use a colon here to introduce this quote. Get rid of the space here. He felt betrayed by Macduff in his absence at the banquet. That's interesting that you say that to preserve what was left of his sanity. Doesn't this make him more insane? I'm not sure. But this is a really good example of him not trusting anyone, because Macduff is the bigger one he mistrusts because he doesn't show up at his banquet, because he has a spy in his house. He doesn't trust him at all. So I think that's a better idea to bring up. It was all brought upon by Macbeth's guilty hands. What does that mean? Like, are you talking about his original murder of Duncan? Because that would maybe be a good way to frame the whole paper, as about because of him killing Duncan and feeling guilty, he develops these symptoms that eventually lead to his demise. Something like that. This is an okay transition statement. I actually think this would work better in speech class than it does here. I would love to have you be a little bit more specific in here, but at least you're using them, so that's good. All right, Rachelle, this is probably your weakest paragraph. So this is about hallucinations, which is one of the more prevalent concepts. Perceptions or hallucinations. No in-text citation. This, while true, doesn't have anything to do with Macbeth, unless you're going to say that the dagger and Banquo's ghost was all in his head, which you do, but you didn't make it clear that it was just all in his head. Points him to his fate is good wording like that. Is a pre-haunting for Macbeth and how his grave symptoms would get, which I don't know if this quote really helps you support this concept. It's not about how his symptoms would get later on. So yes, this is him trying to figure out, are you real or not, which I think plays into your concept of to hear things, see things in their head. So That would be a good part to figure out. Again, you're going to move this over. And then you bring up Banquo's ghost, which haunts him to the point of sounding absolutely absurd. But then this is all you have for kind of tying into a thesis. His actions are often made hastily, even more so than before, revealing that his illness is taken over. Remember at the beginning I said don't fall into the trap of going, oh, he has the symptoms and it caused him to do things. Like there's nothing here, any kind of analysis. You want to fix that. All right, so restate your thesis, which again we're gonna make better. You go through your main points. They correlate to his illness, which that's a weak statement at the end. This is another weak. It appears all around the world. So do fruit flies, but I don't know. It's just a weak statement. Whether they are threatening or not. So this is a run-on sentence. It can all start with one sick thought. I don't think that really captures what you were trying to say. It's so much better wording at the beginning of this paper. It just kind of gets progressively worse as we go down. So I'd take a look at changing that. Hey, you do have works cited. Why weren't they cited in your paper then? So all of these look correct. So you need to cite these things in your paper. Okay? Everything. You did that one. Good job. Okay? That one. These all need to be cited in your paper. So please make sure you do that. That is a big no-no when it comes to writing. All right, Rachelle. Not a bad paper, but certainly we have some things to do to tie all this together. So hopefully we see a rewrite out of you.